Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's another time for us to dive into information, and today we are going to go through another amazing topic in our series on active labor. So, what's our topic today? You may ask. Our topic is on contractions. So, I'm going to start by defining what it is, and then we're going to dive into how does contractions play a part in active labor. All right. So, what is a contraction? According to just basic definition, it's a process in which a muscle shortens and tightens. Again, a process in which a muscle shortens or tightens. In other words, you can say maybe flexing or tensing when your muscle is going through tension. Think of it as Jackie Mays, and if you haven't read her book, please go and find it. It's Supernatural Birth. It's a really amazing book, but she explained it as basically when your hand, if I strain my hand in this manner, I tense it in this manner, it's going to start feeling uncomfortable after some time. So a contraction in itself is when a muscle is being tensed, is being made to feel uncomfortable. So how does that play part into active labor? So during active labor, there are three things that happen with the contractions, which is the shortening and the tightening of the muscle. Number one, the contractions, they get stronger. What does that mean? They intensify. So during the transition, and this is how you're going to tell that you're transitioning into active labor, is when your contractions begin to feel a bit more intense. As I said, think of it as straining your hand, and if I keep pushing it down completely, I can't do it, but if I keep doing it, it's going to feel a bit stronger and intense, I mean. And think of it as how to know that you're in active labor or your contractions are telling you that you're closer to delivery. They begin to radiate from the back through the front. On a normal basis, you may have or feel some of the contractions in your belly, especially the upper part of it. But during active labor, the contractions basically begin to radiate from the back through the front, and you feel an intensity every time you get a contraction. You will feel it not from the front but from your back, radiating through your abdomen. And so number two, the contractions will tend to feel longer. So what do I mean? Or when you are starting labor, the contractions usually are less than 50 to 60 minutes. They go to around 30 seconds, and not minutes, 30 seconds, and they will just die down. But when you're in active labor, they tend to extend, so they go for longer. They can last to up to a minute. So when you're having a contractions, the start of it to the end of it be above a minute, you are close and in active labor. Number three, they get closer to each other. What does that mean? The break in between. After I have my first contraction, the break between the first and the second contraction gets closer. Before active labor, the contractions can even be 20 to 30-minute difference before they are on the end of the first one to the start of the second one. Can be a very long period. But during active labor, what happens, you start to feel them very close to each other. When one ends, it doesn't, you feel like literally you didn't get a break to breathe. You didn't have space to walk around, and it just keeps going. The sequence keeps getting shorter and shorter. And so mostly it comes between 3 to 5 minutes. I hope that makes sense. And so those are the three things that contractions happen to contractions during active labor. We said they get stronger, they get longer, and they get closer. Now, how do you count your contractions? During active labor, it's very, very important for you to count your contractions, because this is what is going to tell you the intensity and how close and how fast you should get to the hospital or wherever you have planned to give birth. So how do you do it? You start, you time yourself. The first contraction you get, the beginning, which we call it the onset of the contraction, and till the end. So if you are using an app, it's usually easier. There are so many apps. Just go to your Play Store and we download the contraction app. Click it when the contraction begins, or jot it down when the contraction started, or have someone else do it for you. And then when it stops, let someone know, or time it, or write it down. So you time the onset and the end, then you time how long it takes before the onset of the next contraction. So remember, we said that to know that you're in active labor, when I click the onset, it should go for more than a minute. So the contraction should last for more than a minute. And then from the end of my first contraction, I should have a break of less than 3 or 5 minutes. So before I begin the next contraction, I want to ensure that the break is shorter, so they are coming more quicker than they were before. Then you also, as I said, make sure you observe the duration. So you want it to be longer than a minute, the contraction, and you want it to happen, the next contraction to happen in less than 5 minutes. So to be sure that this sequence is keeping itself, and remember, it's not gonna be 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Sometimes from the first one to the second one can take 2 minutes, then the other one can take a minute, the other one can take 5 minutes. But if you notice that the sequence of the duration or the break between the contractions is less than 5 minutes for about an hour, then for sure you are in active labor. So monitor it for about an hour to be able to get ready. But keep in mind, some people, especially if it's not your first child, it can happen way quicker. So take that time to be able to observe yourself well. And if they intensify too much and your water has broken and you have gone through the stages that we talked about to know you're in active labor, then go to the hospital or to your respective place of birth. So I hope this was informative for you, and you'll be able to help yourself or help someone that you know that is about to welcome an amazing child into this world. So all the best. See you next time as we get informed.